We need to be good at sussing out.
You can do it from any point.
Let's collaborate instead of compete.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. I am your host, John Abbas. And if you are here for the first time, welcome. But this podcast is focused on interviewing entrepreneurs, creatives, or really anybody having a lot of success at something really awesome. And I ask as many questions as I can in 30 to 45 minutes in order to distill down the keys to their success for you. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so that you get notified every time a new episode releases. And now let's get to the show. Today, I have an incredible guest who's a lot of fun and he's very funny. He's had an amazing career as a professional voiceover artist in Hollywood. You may not have heard of Jon Lipow's name, but chances are you have heard his voice many, many, many times. He's done voiceovers for Star Wars, The Incredible Hulk, The Simpsons, and just so many more. And in this episode, Jon shares his really exciting and unique story as a voiceover artist, the keys that led to his success, which apply to everybody. And as an added bonus, he's done some pretty badass sound effects in the episode. So I'm excited for you. Enjoy the show. Jon, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Looking forward to this interview. Very excited. Researching you was very fun. I see Duffman in the back.
Yes.
Did you voice him?
No. He's it's a beach towel that's hiding some files and stuff. It's a good Simpsons character, and it's funny. I have a poster from the '90s, late '90s it's a yellow one with all the characters all over it. It's got like hundreds of characters, but Duffman's not in it. So I was at Universal Studios with my nephew, and I saw this towel. I was like, "There's the Duffman." So I figured it would be a good thing to have. I'm not going to use it on the beach; probably ruin it. So it's a good sound. It's sound dampening in addition to all this acoustic foam that I have here, so it helps.
Well, I love your setup. Your setup is it's amazing, and everybody that's watching or listening to this interview will understand why you have such a badass setup here shortly.
Yeah,
as we get into it. And for those of you guys listening, Jon is an incredible voice actor. Even if you don't know his face, you have most likely heard his voice many, many times. And so, Jon, can you share? Because
they probably don't know this face, but they probably know this one. Okay.
Oh,
that's him.
That sound effect. Well, that's why researching you is so fun, because I thought you had done characters or maybe some narration, had no idea some of the voice work that you've done. So can you share some of like your major work?
Well, one of the most popular things I've done in recent years was Overwatch and Overwatch 2, which it just came out. So that's been a lot of fun. Getting a lot of fan reactions from that, and meeting a lot of people that are, huge fans of the game and the universe that takes place in. So that was cool. Yeah, but Incredible Hulk back in 2008, I got to voice him in Abomination, along with some other voice actors for the efforts and fighting noises and the impacts. And so the big stars don't have to hurt their voices doing those. They let us do it. But it was so much fun because I grew up with the Hulk as a kid in the 70s. I was growing up with Lou Ferrigno's Hulk and Bill Bixby. So being able to actually portray that character later on in life was pretty awesome. But yeah, a lot of Star Wars stuff's been happening. The Simpsons just did another episode over this Sunday that aired. So it's my fourth one. So it's been an incredible last few years, especially. And Disney, Lucasfilm, working on some projects with them, with Star Wars projects, The Bad Batch, Star Wars Resistance, which that stopped airing a couple years ago. But Bad Batch is still running, and I'm in that. And the new one coming out in May 4th, Young Jedi Adventures. So that should be a lot of fun.
So it's never really a dull day in your life.
No, it's wonderful. I'm very blessed and feeling really fortunate to have this opportunity to do these things. And interestingly enough, the last episode of The Bad Batch, which was episode 10, The Retrieval, I think it's called, or Retrieval, I play the villain, Mako. He talks like this. You're my number one guy, Benny. I'll take care of you. And it's like one of my life goals in voiceover is to be a villain in a Disney feature film. And this isn't a feature film, but it's Disney and it's a TV program, and I'm a villain in an episode. So it's closer and closer to these, these goals. So the opportunity that I was given to do that and voice that character was wonderful. So I had so much fun with that. But
So do you mean an animated film, or you mean like a feature?
When I say
Marvel?
Disney, when I say Disney feature, when I came up with the goal years ago, I was thinking, Jafar, Aladdin, Tony J in Notre Dame, Hunchback of Notre Dame, those evil characters, and this is really so that's what I mean. Like, yes, the feature animated film, but there's so much different content now that, like I said, I'll take anything that's in that realm. But that's like the ultimate goal, sure.
That's awesome. Have you ever met or talked to Kevin Feige?
No, I haven't yet. No.
One day. It'll happen.
One day.
Yeah, well, Jon, I'm really excited to kind of get into your story today. As everybody that's listening so far can tell, you're very talented, you're accomplished, but I've always had a really deep admiration for those in the arts because I truly believe it's one of the hardest things to become successful at because, you have to have talent and then timing, hard work, sacrifice, networking skills, a lot of devotion. But despite all of that, you still have to have some luck, even if you have everything else.
Yeah.
And so I just love interviewing people like yourself because the lessons of success and the seeds of inspiration are in your stories. And so I'm very excited to get into your story today. So how did all of this start? Like, did you just know what you wanted to do when you were young, or?
I kind of did. I mean, I don't know how deep you want to go here, but like back in the day, like when I was my father and mother they got divorced when I was about 4.5, and it was a pretty rough time of it. As far as how I went through it, they had joint custody, so I had love in both houses and everything. So I had a very good upbringing, regardless of the friction between my parents. But there was, with all that friction, I think a desire to kind of step away from all that chaos and kind of be in my own little world allowed me to start getting kind of creative with sounds and voices and characters. And I realized very young that I could actually do a lot with my voice, imitating video game noises and lawnmowers and tree choppers and car mufflers. And I just had a knack for it and I enjoyed it. Yeah. And my parents and family always knew, like, wow, do that again. And my friends in elementary school would play. I'd hold my thumb up and they would like play, and I do Donkey Kong noises and all that stuff and Centipede, and I would make these noises and people really got a kick out of it. And I just realized that, this is something really fun. And I had an uncanny knack to kind of reproduce sounds and come up with different voices and characters. So I kind of rolled with that for a bit. And I think, of course, in school, I got in trouble for making noises, and I was a little, class clown and everything. And I kind of I didn't really respect school as much as I should have. Not that I was I wasn't a great student, but I just was kind of bored.
Yep.
So I just made noises. Maybe I lashed out that way with noises and got the reactions I did. But anyway, it was, in the end, the teachers remember me kind of fondly because I guess I was always creative, and I got into theater when I was in 6th grade, started doing school plays and realized I enjoyed that. That was my first acting foray, I guess you could say. Awesome. But yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And it just kind of, I realized embracing it and people always tell me this is what I should be doing kind of helped as well. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you go to college for acting or for voice acting?
No, I was I started in as a theater major.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I wasn't a very good student just because I didn't apply myself, and I should have applied myself more, but I didn't. Every one of my siblings, step siblings, I got tons of them, were all A students except for me. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. I figured that, in this academic world, I just was kind of not really doing much with it. I don't know. I just figured, embracing this, like when I went to college, I wanted to be a broadcasting major because I figured, theater I did in high school mostly and in junior high school, but being a broadcasting major would be something that would kind of help me into the radio avenue of things, maybe radio and TV at the school's media center. I went to SUNY Oswego, Al Roker's alma mater. And yeah, so when I was on the phone, I did really well in my freshman year. I went to community college for my freshman year just to get my grades up because I don't have like a C+, B- average. So I needed to really pick up the grades a lot. And I did. I applied myself for that year. I got A's, B+ for a freshman year, and I got into Oswego, which is where I wanted to go. And I had a conversation with the administrative dean, and he was just like, yeah, it's like, I want to be a broadcasting major. He's like, you can't be a broadcasting major. I'm like, I don't understand. That's what I wanted to focus on. That's why I chose your school. Like, I'm sorry. And what was happening was we started getting into like a very, almost an argument. And I'm like, he's like, you cannot come in as a broadcasting major. I was like, don't you have any other interests? I'm like, well, I like theater, then be a theater major. It's like, okay, but it's like, you can switch later, but freshmen and sophomores are not allowed to be broadcast majors. That's a junior and senior program, but you can come in as anything. It's like, I was like, oh, it's like, it was just a miscommunication. Like, he wasn't telling me that I could never be. I thought he was saying, you can never be that. You'll never be that here. It wasn't that. It was just, technically, you can't be admitted as that. I was like, well, thanks. So I almost like pissed him off to the point where maybe I would have been rejected, but it was so weird. It was a little misstep there. But anyway, got in, theater major, changed it over to communications, then changed it to broadcasting. That's the closest thing I guess I could have studied. And I learned a lot about, the regulations and studio work, and it's really neat. And one of the cool things that I remember most fondly in that, besides recording a radio drama and having such a blast with that, and it was doing an interview. This is back when they used reel-to-reel tapes, 3/4-inch tape on the tape machine. That's how old I am. And I had to splice an interview with a dead person and become the interviewer of this person who was no longer with us. And I had to cut the tape up and make myself replace the interviewer. And that's what I did. And I got to tell you something. That lesson, that experience has made me so appreciative of Pro Tools and all the digital editing and the simplicity of getting out all little, it's just a matter of mouse clicks and edits.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. I mean, think about all the movies like Jaws and E.T. that were physically spliced and pieced together. Oh my God. Now it's all just done in the digital realm. Not that it's easy, but it's easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
The physical avenue of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just reading. I got this magazine. It was like on the whole life of Steven Spielberg, and he was just talking about how like Jaws almost broke him. Like, it was so difficult all the way through, and it was that damn shark that was like the bane of his existence.
Yes. Yeah, Bruce, named after one of his lawyers. But yeah, that malfunctioning shark ended up, as you probably know if you're a Jaws fan, making such a little of the movie that the suspense and the implication of Jaws' existence made the movie even better. So it worked. It was fortuitous in the end.
Absolutely. Exactly. So
how cool is that? See, that's luck. That's you think it's bad luck, but it's actually luck that happened because it made the movie amazing.
Absolutely. That's all by necessity. And I think, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Star Wars creator. Oh, George Lucas. Yeah. He had a lot with Star Wars, was the same thing, like just lack of resources and lack of everything. And it ended up working in his favor by having the audience use their imagination. So really, really cool. So you graduate. Well, did you finally get into broadcasting in college?
Yes, I worked at the two radio stations there. WNYO was the kind of cool rock and roll station there. I did some promos and stuff like that for them. And then WRVO was the NPR FM 90 on your dial. It's 31 degrees in Syracuse, Oswego on Lake Ontario.
I've got to ask this because you have like the perfect radio broadcaster voice. Like when did your voice crack and you get the deep voice? Because I still sound like a girl sometimes.
I got pretty deep. I guess I started chorale in 8th grade, the chorus class, and I was a bass. They put me in bass in 8th grade. That's when I started it. So I think maybe around 12, 13 years old or 14, probably 13-ish. It wasn't this deep, obviously, but
yeah,
I was definitely a low voice. And one of my best friends was a tenor, my friend Peter, and we'd harmonize all the time. It was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when did you decide to move to Hollywood and just or LA and go that route, or is it a natural progression?
Well, I have an aunt and uncle here. My dad's sister lives here. My uncle, and I've grown up with them always out here. So we visited them when I was like 7 and 8 years old. Came out here, did a tour of the West Coast, Muir Woods, Redwood Forest, all the way down to Disneyland and back, and I really had an affinity for the West Coast. I always loved New York. New York, in my opinion, is still the greatest city in the world. I have yet to see one that's better, but I have still a lot to see. So, but LA really captured me with the palm trees and the climate, and just, I don't know, there's something about the energy out here that I really enjoyed also. Awesome. But once I decided on my career as a voice actor, I knew very early on that at some point I would be coming out here. And I didn't come out here till 2001. But, I stopped in Atlanta for 4 years and kind of built up my resume there and got some great experience working with Turner Broadcasting and radio station out there. But, it always was the plan. It's just, I didn't know when to actually initiate the plan. But 2001, after 4 years in Atlanta, it was time. But I kind of always knew. It just kind of pieces had to fall into place, I guess. But it did.
Gotcha. Was it a little scary, like just making that big change and just...
I had one of my best college buddies, Brett, lives out here, and he was out here since '98, and that I had at least that. I had some family, so I had a little bit of a network, and and I came out with a job. I worked at Sears in retail for many years, and so I had that transfer out here. So that was one less thing to worry about. Just coming out here with an empty bag.
Right.
And nothing.
Right.
But it was, I wouldn't say it was scary. It was just, daunting maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So I'm excited to hear like what a typical audition for you looks like. Like where are you? Because you said before we hit the record button, you had how many? 14?
Yeah, I did. I recorded 14 of them yesterday.
Is there like a main site that you get all of these, or do you have an agent?
It's through my agent. It's through my agent, actually. Yeah.
Got it.
And it's not always 14. That's a lot. But it's 5, 4, 3, 1, 10. It kind of varies, but there's a lot. Sometimes you get stampeded with them, but it's great. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And I have an analogy that I use, and I think any voice actor, aspiring voice actor, professional, accomplished, if you're in Los Angeles doing voiceover, you are in the major leagues. If you think about it, what other city is more prestigious in the voiceover community? I mean, the biggest stars are doing voiceover here, in addition to scale voice talent like myself and whoever else is doing this. Aspiring actors, the same. So when I get an audition, I look at that as me getting an at-bat. Every time. I get to take a swing. I'm obviously not going to hit it out of the park every time. Then I'd be a multi-gazillionaire if I did that. But it's that ability to be there and have the industry there with me, and I'm taking that swing, and I got a chance to either, I could strike out, or I can, maybe I don't get a home run when I say get booking as the home run, but there's triples and doubles too. Sometimes you don't book something, but then they love your audition. They cast you as something else, or they remember you. Yeah, you auditioned for us for this, but we want to read you for that now. Oh, okay. You don't think you booked it and it's over and done with, which most of the time it will be over and done with, because there's so many people trying to do this. But I think that's a great, I'm very appreciative of every single one that I get, regardless of how big the project or small scale it can be. And oftentimes you'll find that little radio spot that doesn't pay as much as a TV spot, but it's still a good spot, and you still want to do a great job and be thankful for it. That could turn into a TV campaign. It could turn into an internet campaign, or vice versa. And then all of a sudden you had one thing, which is now 6 things, and there's tags and these other ads on, and it all of a sudden becomes this huge thing that it wouldn't have been if you never booked it in the first place. So everything is an opportunity.
That makes sense. Now, do you have any desire to be an actor, or do you even audition as like a regular actor?
I have a regular actor. You non-voiceover people and your terminologies. I do on-camera auditions. I have an on-camera agent for commercial BBA talent. It's not nearly as often, obviously, as my voice stuff, which is fine with me because I'm really busy, thankfully. But I like doing on-camera stuff when I can, and I've done some short films and films for friends and stuff like that. And I haven't done plays in a while, but I did that when I was I did another play in Atlanta when I lived there after college. But it's definitely available for on-camera stuff if they want. But mostly VOs keep me
that's
very...
your wheelhouse. So from the time you got to LA, I mean, has it been pretty consistent, or have you had like really slow periods?
Not at all consistent. No. It was, but it's funny. I always had the scales of, my retail work and my voiceover work. That's how it started when I got here. So your voiceover down here, but it as years go by, you start to do this, and then you don't need the retail as much. And then all of a sudden the hours go down on the retail, the hours go up on the voiceover, and then retail is totally gone. But I mean, starting out, it was tough. I mean, I was with an agent, I think in 2003, I think it was a Daniel Hoff agency. And that was kind of a boutique voiceover department they were starting up, but I didn't book anything. I mean, I was doing great auditions, almost booked a few, but never really connected. And we parted ways very amicably. Just like, yeah, I don't know. We're not really connecting. Yeah, I don't know. And he said, yeah, you're one of the most talented people in Los Angeles, John, but it's not connecting. Yeah, I get it. I wasn't upset about it. I was like, I understand. Yeah. And then, of course, when I didn't have an agent, I started booking stuff, looking at ads in Backstage West and finding, those kind of things. And I was able to get my SAG card. Actually, I got my SAG card right away because I was able to do a Sears on-camera commercial and a video game when I got out here without any agent. I got my SAG card, but it was pretty cool. Awesome. Right in 01 when I got here. But consistency, no. It was slow some years. Even with an agent, I had slow years and I had really good years and lean years and mixed around. But it's like I said, this trajectory that I'm on for the last several years has been like this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my
there's a lot to be said. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
My agent Dean Panaro told me something years ago when he was with me at Abrams Artists, was my first big agency that I was with for 13 years. He said, John, I know you're a superstar, but it doesn't happen for everyone at the same pace. Sometimes it takes longer for some people than others. It doesn't say anything about your talent. It just certain things. I saw some of my colleagues really rising in the ranks and doing so many awesome projects. And I was like, I wouldn't say I was jealous, but I was like, wow, what did they do to do that? Like, what do I got to do to get there? Very happy. That's the cool thing about the voiceover community. When I was doing on-camera commercial stuff more often, there's a lot of cattiness that goes on in the waiting room. It's like, oh, good luck. It's like, really? Good
I can imagine.
But in voiceover, it's like, hey man, congrats, you got it. Like, I go to a bunch of my voiceover comrades and we'd be auditioning for some voice matching in the film on the lot. And, sometimes I wouldn't book it. Hey, congrats, man. See you next time. It was always good natured. And then when I got it, I remember I booked a Johnny Depp match for Alice in Wonderland. And they said, all right, John, we're going to keep John and so around. I'm like, great. It's like, oh, wait, so I got it? I was just kind of like disbelief. And then one of my voiceover friends is like, there's no other John here, man. Congrats, man. Have fun. I was like, oh, cool. So I don't know. It's just, there's good nature. And I really like that about the community that we have here. There's work to go around and it's nice. It's a real nice community.
Awesome. Yeah. There's really just a lot of lessons there. I mean, so many people, especially a lot of the younger generation, they don't understand the art of consistency and sticking with something for years.
Perseverance.
Exactly.
It's such a great point. And it's so important. I was about to mention it and you said it. I was like, wavelength.
Yeah. Please elaborate.
Because I know for me, my plan B, honestly, I didn't have one. But if I had to be realistic and this wasn't working, it wasn't making the bills, I always thought about being a weather anchor. Why not? Because if you don't read from a teleprompter, which I don't really enjoy doing very much, and you can improv and kind of just go with your knowledge and just speak from the hip. And I kind of like that better. So that's why weather anchor is cool. And I also actually am fascinated with weather, something I actually enjoy and would actually study and get a master's degree if I had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't ever go back to school again. But I would do it for that because I like it.
You would be great at that. Have you ever heard of Bob Emery?
No.
He's on Instagram. He's phenomenal, but he has built this huge following doing voiceovers for sports bloopers.
Oh, really?
He has a voice very similar to yours, but he just does really hilarious. He'll be running the ball and he'll get tackled and holy shit. It's just, I can't model it because I don't have the voice for it, but just you would absolutely slaughter in that world. I know it, but you'd be a great weatherman as well.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, when I was a CNN tour guide in Atlanta, I did tours for about 2 years, and one of the things on the VIP tour, all the tours, was they show you how the chroma key system works. So I stand in front of a blue wall, and you'd have the weather. They'd see the weather map on the TV screens, and I would, we got an Alberta clipper coming in from the Pacific Northwest. You're going to see, and I do non-committal gestures. So if you don't know exactly where a city is, you just go like this, and you cover the entire state. And he knows what he's talking about. Yes, I do. Right there in Topeka, Kansas, over here,
the Greater Des Plaines area.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I learned how to do that and felt kind of comfortable with it. So it was always like, if I don't do voiceovers, weather anchor would be kind of neat. But yeah, in the end, no plan B for real. And that's the thing, perseverance. This is what I feel legitimately in my mind and heart that this is what I was born to do. I really feel that way about it. I don't know. I mean, it's just, and when you have a family, extended family, friends, so many people in your life that are never surprised when you tell them what you're doing, and they're like, oh, of course you are, because everyone believes in you. And
Absolutely.
that, I'll tell you, when you're an actor, I guess being an actor, you're seeking approval. That's the psychosis for actors. They just want to be approved. I want approval, and that's what they have. The complex. I don't know, but there's something to the effect where you want to be, you're seeking that, I guess, unconsciously or whatever, subconsciously. But I think it's just something that, that you stick with it because you know that's what you want to do. And a lot of friends that I've had aren't in Hollywood anymore, and I understand they tried. Some are a few years, some are barely any years, and some are a lot, and they just never really connected or were able to really make it as a living. But I don't know. I just knew I had to keep going because I don't really know what else I'm supposed to do. So I think when you have a mindset that failure is not an option, and I think having those retail jobs as kind of a little crutch to help offset any financial stresses, because that's the thing. The retail stuff helped me have even that part-time job at Sony at the end, like 20 hours a week, working weekends and some evenings. It was great because it gave me the flexibility to do my voiceover stuff during the day, go to those auditions and do what I had to do to keep that career going, but still have a little bit of a safety net for the rent and food and the bills. So that, I think, alleviating the financial stress, some people are like, no, I'll never get a day job. Then that means you're giving up. That means you sold out. It's like, no, it doesn't. It means you're helping yourself toward that goal.
Absolutely.
So that's what I feel it did. And it made my transition to being a full-time voiceover actor much more simple and much more doable and less daunting.
And that's what you are now. You're full-time. Like, this is
since pretty much, I guess since 2008. I mean, I had a part-time job from 2008 for 6 years. Like the end of 2008 to the early part of 2015, I did that Sony job, like 20 hours a week or whatever. But that was it. But full time since 2008, and then since 2015, nothing else.
Wow. What's been your favorite gig out of every project you've done? Do you have a favorite, or most fun, or most memorable?
I don't think I do have a favorite, because I'm learning new stuff with every crew I work with. I mean, one of my sessions I remember fondly was when I worked with Seth Green on Robot Chicken. Because I really enjoyed how he directed me, and I could see him out. I'm in the booth and there's a window, and I see him at the desk, and he's looking at me, and I can tell he's very good with facial expressions, steering my read. Like if I'm doing Bob Barker or Tom Hanks, one of those characters that I did, he would be like, I could tell he's like, like he would do these facial things. It's like, oh yeah, okay. He was steering me in a cool way, and I just enjoyed working with him. And then, of course, the sense of humor at Robot Chicken with him and Matt are very, they're kind of one in my wheelhouse there as far as the type of humor that they have.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, that was a cool session.
To a question I want to ask you, because I'm not sure how this all. So you audition for a part, you get the part. Right. Do you what's the typical, do you go to a studio or do you do it from home? Do they send a crew to you?
Well,
what's kind of like your...
Wow, you just said a lot of things that happened. Obviously, COVID changed a lot of this.
Right.
I've had a studio for years. I mean, since I moved out here, I was having a home studio to do auditions from home. I go in to do auditions too, because sometimes there's a lot of characters and I want more context. Maybe so I can use an outside thought process, someone outside that can kind of guide me a little bit. I like to go in every now and then. Of course, I do probably 95 to 97% of my auditions from home now still, but COVID made that happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as recording the actual jobs, I'll usually go into a studio. I've been doing a lot from home as well since COVID, but before that I was mostly going into studios all over town. And so you do this, you basically do an audition, then you send it to your agent sends it with the submissions to the client will review them, and then they'll get back to the agent and say if they've booked. If I don't book it, I don't hear anything, and if I do book it, I'll hear something. And it's not always the same time frame either. Like casting decisions could be days away. Like we need to know we're going to record tomorrow, they wait to the last minute. Sometimes I'll read something, and usually if a few days or a week goes by, like my agent says, on to the next one. Don't think about it. On to the next one. Just go, keep going. But there's been things I've auditioned for like 2 months later. Yeah, you read for us back in October. What? Oh, okay. Like they don't need to cast it immediately, and they take time to make their decisions. And you find out months later that you got something. So that happens too. And the coolest thing that happens though is when I book a job that I didn't read for. Because either they said, "Oh, you recorded this for us 2 years ago. You did this character. We knew we wanted you for this." Oh, okay, great. Or so and so worked with you on that project, and he recommended you, so we just decided to cast you. Oh my goodness, that's like what a testament to, Oh, thank you. Like, I feel very like, wow, I'm honored when that happens too. It's just like, okay, they trust me to that point, or they don't even need to run auditions out. But that's been a cool thing when that happens, and that's happening more than it ever did. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's just, but it's great.
Yeah,
it's
I love that
bonus.
So I was on your YouTube channel watching you. You made a video where you were actually like live recording yourself doing an audition for like all kinds of different like monsters, and this is what got me really excited because, before. Like when we first spoke, I thought it was like, oh, you're voicing like a character in a cartoon or something, but I had no idea like your depth and your range of like just sounds and voices. And it was just really cool. So I was wondering if you could like give us a little demo, because you said you did Hulk and Armageddon. That was really crazy.
Hulk and Abomination.
Armageddon.
Armageddon. The voice of a meteor. But yeah, no, it's I mean, that's a cool niche that I have out here is robots, mechanical things, and creature stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I actually like voice acting more than on camera acting,
right?
Because what I love about it is your unlimited creativity, because you can sculpt, draw, animate, anything your mind can dream up can be done. Like in I always think of God of War 3, the video game. When that like this mountain, you're climbing a mountain, it's Kratos, all of a sudden the mountain like moves and it's got trees growing, but it's a rock monster. And then there's this octopus horse that's an enemy you have to fight. Like, where are the things coming from? They're coming from people's minds. There's no on camera. If I do some of the things on camera that I do, people will think I'm a mental case, they'll think I'm nuts. And I wouldn't blame them. But when you're doing it as a voiceover and no one has to see you going all crazy, and all they see is this wonderful, visual creation that someone thought up, and you're giving it a sound. I like that. You're boundless, I think, when it comes to creating things. And creature stuff I love to do, because all I do is I see a creature, a graphic representation. They don't always have a picture for me, but if they can describe the character, is it short and stout, or is it tall and thin? That will change how I decide to vocalize it. And it seems more often than not, people are enjoying my interpretation of how their design would sound. And am I wrong or right? I don't know. It's a make-believe thing. There's really no right or wrong. It's just a matter of they're hearing what they want to hear, and hopefully I deliver that.
Absolutely. Well,
so you want to hear some things. What do you want to hear?
Let's
I don't know, but yeah, so many things.
That's
amazing.
Time. I'm gonna post a link also to your YouTube video, if that's okay, because I just love that one video. It's like breathy.
Yeah. I like to get those like gurgly wet sound. Yeah.
That's awesome. So do you spend a lot of time like practicing, or do you just have it pretty much down? Like, do you wake up in the morning and like, I've had my coffee, let's
rise and shine? No. I mean, it's funny because I was one of the companies I work with a lot lately is Lucasfilm, working on the Star Wars stuff, and some of these new creatures they have, we're coming up with the stuff together. And and I'm like coming up with some input on it, and I'm so when they actually value my opinion on the character, it's like, oh my god, it's really cool that they do that. They let me be a part of that creation process a bit. But yeah, in games, I do a lot of those creatures in games. We come up with it on the spot. There's sometimes we'll have sessions where we don't really know. They don't really know exactly until they hear it. So I just I come up with these. Okay, how would this sound? All right, well, and I just have this weird you know, this we're a moment of just kind of finding it. And that's what's so cool too. I do have a little bit of a repertoire, I'm sure, of sounds that I do, that I have a go-to box, I guess you could say, my toolbox. Gotcha. But more often than not, I am just figuring it out with them, with the creators, and just coming up with it. And I look at the picture, or how would he sound? Like, okay, maybe is he more reptilian, or is he amphibian? Is he mammal? Is he vertebrate, invertebrate? Then how would that change? And I try to just kind of just create it on the spot. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they'll tell me. It's like, no, go steer away from that one. Too less honky, less honky. No honk, no honk. Okay, so we'll get rid of the honk. It's like an equalizer. You kind of fade in and out the things they don't want, and you try to kind of steer it in a way that matches their creative ambition. So
I'd love to hear you as a villain for Stranger Things season 5.
Yes,
that would be pretty sweet.
I still have to watch season 4.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
I heard it's great. So
definitely. Yeah. So last couple of questions. One is just a question that I was interested in is there anybody that you've worked with out there in Hollywood and LA that you were particularly surprised at how great of a person they were? Like somebody famous?
Well, surprised? No, because that would be pessimistic to think that all the actors are dicks. But I mean, I've gotten to work with people that I've idolized, like Fred Tatasciore, D. Bradley Baker. I haven't worked with Gollum, who plays Gollum.
I don't know who plays him.
No, but I haven't got to work with him yet. But oh my God, I feel bummed. I can't even name drop one of my favorite guys, but I want to work with him. He's amazing. He's the most incredible motion capture artist from Planet of the Apes and Lord of the Rings. And but yeah, it's just that would be a true honor. Awesome. But yeah, working with like D. Bradley Baker, he's like the most amazing creature voice actor I know, and I'm sharing characters with him, like Wrecking Ball. I'm the robot, he's the hamster, and I'm working on the Bad Batch, and he's the Bad Batch, and I'm characters in that show, and it's just really neat to be able to do that.
I love that. Just that you get paid to be a kid for your entire life. Like that's just so awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's you get to do something like that. I mean, I have a stepbrother's a radiologist, and my sister's a teacher, and brother's a teacher and a musician, and I've musicians. Stepbrother's a rock star, and I have so many people doing things that are so different and sometimes similar. But yeah, it's cool. There's no less. You need people need medicine and doctors, and people also need to be entertained.
Absolutely.
So it's just something that our society has mandated. So I guess I'm on the entertainment side.
I love it.
I'm just glad that there's people that want to do like open heart surgery, and because I don't want to do that, but I'm glad there's people that do, because everyone's doing following their dreams in their own way.
Oh man, yeah, we've gathered that you didn't like schooling really early in this interview.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't so much school as the homework. Isn't that my time? You have me all day in the class, and you want to go home and do more?
That's
really. I hope my kids aren't going to see this. I don't have kids yet, but I don't want to be a hypocrite when I make them do their homework. but I mean, yeah. So it's just.
Yeah. Well, Jon, this has been awesome. I do want to give the audiences the best place to follow your work. Is there any social media platform that you're most active? Is there anywhere that you'd like people to follow you that want to?
I'm not huge on social media. I'm not telling everybody about my tuna sandwich today and stuff like that. I don't really do that stuff, but like Twitter, I'm on, it's at Jonathan Lipow.
Got it.
Facebook is Jon Lipow at Jon Lipow Voice. I don't know if there's an at. It's just Jon Lipow Voice, and it's JON, not JOHN.
Yep.
And I think I'm at Jon Lipow, JONLIPOW on Instagram, and LinkedIn. I think it's just Jon Lipow. But I don't know. Yeah, basically the Twitter, I guess, handle is fine. But yeah, they can find me on there. I update things every now and then, little things coming up. But yeah,
awesome. Yeah, well, I will post all of those in the show notes, and I really do appreciate your time. For those
Thank
listening,
you so much.
The big thing that I want them to take from this conversation is first and foremost, dreams take years and decades of work and patience, this microwave mentality that so many people have, but most importantly, just how discouraged people get if they don't succeed in like 1 year. It's just so ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like people are thinking like, I bought a lottery ticket. I scratched it off. Where's my million?
That's right.
It's like, no, you got to really stick to it. By the way, Andy Serkis is the guy. I can't believe I couldn't remember his name at the moment, but yes. To work with him, doing some mocap, doing some gorilla sounds with him, that would be a true dream as well. And another bucket list item to do. But yeah.
Well, I have no doubt that you'll get there. And I appreciate your time today. And like, you knocked it out of the park. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, John.